This is Mac Voices TV. The Take Control ebook series are media sponsors of Mac Voices TV. Visit them at takecontrolbooks.com. Hi, I'm Chuck Joyner. Welcome to the MacJury, the home of truth, justice, and the Macintosh way. Yes, this is video, and you'll probably see it on the brand new Mac Voices TV feed, but you also may be listening to this audio on the MacJury feed. Either way, this is our post-keynote wrap-up show. Joining me for this one, going from one side to the other, Chuck Tournous. Chuck?
Hey, Chuck. I'm glad to be here. I'm Chuck Tournous. I'm the editor and publisher of randomaccess.com. 2 M's, 2 C's, 2 S's. You get to see me do that live now.
I'm impressed.
And I'm also teaching a super session this year called the Ultimate Mac Starter Class.
Bob Dr. MacLevitis?
Hi. I'm Bob Dr. MacLevitis. I write books with the words dummies or stupid in the title. And I'm a columnist for the Houston Chronicle and the reviews editor for the iPod Observer. And I don't know, that's about it.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Mr. Terry White. Terry.
Hi, thanks, Chuck. I'm Terry White with Adobe Systems, also president of Mac Group Detroit, co-author of the iPhone book 2nd edition and 1st edition, and speaking tomorrow at the Adobe User Group Breakfast, the Adobe Sessions on the Show Floor, and Thursday, the Lightroom for Digital Photographer session.
Terry, I get the impression if we took that shirt off you, there's a big A right there.
Yeah, I think so. It's been, it just kind of developed there all along. It was just not a tattoo, it's a real thing.
And also with us is Mr. Adam Christianson. Adam, it's great to have you.
Hey, thanks for having me. Adam Christianson from the MacCast podcast, which you'll find at maccast.com.
Great. Okay, guys, we just walked out of the keynote. What do you think? Phil was up there. Phil introduced some new things, mainly software. Adam, I'll start with you.
Start with me. I got the hard job of going first. One thing I want to say is I think, given the circumstances, I was very impressed with the performance Phil gave. I thought he did as well as he could, holding up and filling in for Steve Jobs. I was very excited about the initial announcement, the iPhoto update. I've been looking for that, especially with the stuff in iMovie. But kind of from there, it got pretty slow until the end, which it picked up a little bit. But overall, I thought it was going to have the energy. It seemed to start out that way. The room, everybody leading up to it, and Phil came out and had really great presence. And then for me, it kind of petered toward the end a little bit.
Terry?
Well, I will concur. I think Phil did a great job given the hand that he was dealt. I think that for Phil's first and probably only keynote, I think he had big shoes to fill. Everyone was kind of disappointed that Steve's not here, but I think he pulled it off, certainly with the products that he had to demo and show. And he seemed a little nervous at first, but once he got that first round of applause, then he just kicked into Phil mode and started having fun with it and showing some cool stuff.
Interesting phrase. He had some fun with it. He really did seem to have. He seemed very at ease. Cracked a couple jokes and they worked. So that was encouraging. Bob.
I love Tony Bennett. I love Tony Bennett. No, I agree. I think, all things considered, Phil did a good job. And I agree that I think it started. I thought in the middle, okay, enough about that. Let's get going. Come on, tempo, pace. But it did pick up again at the end a little. A little disappointed in the products. I mean, it seemed like if this were a usual keynote, those would have been the secondary things that we saw, not the key things, not the most important parts. But there were no important parts. I mean, there was nothing we haven't seen before. No new product category, no new anything. No, the 17-inch is nice, but it's totally expected. I mean, more expected than iPhone Nano or Mac Mini or any of the other things that were expected that didn't happen.
That was coming. I mean, they said, okay, the 17-inch is coming in January, so there's no surprise there.
So overall, I give it about a 76. It had a good beat. You could dance to it, but it isn't going to reach number one on the charts.
Chuck?
I think if you're going to rate the keynote, you have to kind of look at it on two different levels. The first is, how did Phil do? And I think he did really well. I think one of the masterful things that he did was come out up front and kind of talk about how grateful he was for the opportunity and how thankful he was for the reception that he got. It's kind of hard to heckle him after that, sort of heartfelt introduction that he made. On the second side, as an Apple product keynote, I agree it was kind of lacking, and it sort of showed why Steve wasn't there, I think, because there wasn't a whole lot to say. The iPhoto, the iLife announcements are great. I love the new features in it, but when they got into the 20th minute or so about talking about iPhoto, it kind of tipped the hand that there wasn't going to be a whole lot of substance in this keynote.
We talked about this before we started shooting. Apple seems to have reinforced the idea that they don't want to do major product announcements at Macworld. So they delivered some new enhancements to existing products, but nothing new. On the other hand, if they'd given Phil nothing, he'd have been crucified, and he clearly wasn't. So, I don't know. Terry, I've got to look at you you're the photography guy here. iPhoto, what's your reaction to this? Is it all bells and whistles? Is it cool? Or?
Well, it's funny because, when I started looking at some of the features that were offered, it wasn't anything that as a technology didn't already exist or was new. Adobe products have had face detection for years. Geotagging is certainly not new. So those things were not revolutionary by any means, but I think Apple does what Apple does best. They put them in a nice, easy, friendly manner to approach for the common person that says, hey, I want to do that. I want to be able to do those things. Now, coming from a professional level, I didn't see, of course, any new editing capabilities, which makes me happy. And I didn't see any really, other than the organizing by faces in place, I didn't really see any enhancements in just organizing the massive number of photos we're going to continue to have. It seems like there's some automation there, but it's still going to be a lot of work as our libraries continue to grow more and more and more with more photos. So, it was interesting.
Who's buying a new 17-inch MacBook Pro?
You are.
Yeah, I am. I know that part. Any other 17-inch fans?
I want an anti-glare for my 15-inch.
Yeah.
No, I'm not buying a 17-inch, but partly because everything I've got fits 15-inch, and I don't really need. I work at home mostly with a 24-inch display connected to my laptop, so having the bigger, heavier laptop doesn't really appeal to me. I'm not on the road that much. I pretty much sit in a dark room alone all the time, and I've got a big monitor there. So I'm not going for that. But I like some of the stuff they introduced with it, and I think that when it filters down to the 15-inch, then it's going to be time for me to buy a new computer. I'd love to have the battery life, that battery life rock and rolled. I'd love to have a 7 or 8 hours. That would be great. I would buy a new laptop for that, but not a 17-inch.
I'd be happy to get the 4 hours they claim.
Well, you can. Just turn everything off and turn the display down. Yeah.
Chuck, is the anti-glare option a capitulation of any kind, or is it just something that is logical we should have seen coming?
I was going to say that I thought that announcement was a nice acknowledgement of the professional base that this machine is targeted for. So, as much as we want to talk about Apple being dictatorial and in transit and all that, they are listening, I think, to some customer requests, complaints, demands, threats, whatever you want to call it. The other interesting thing that I found out about the MacBook Pro 17-inch is, and I don't know if it came across in the keynote because I didn't catch it at first, was that the battery is not removable.
Sealed, yeah.
It's sealed in there. Okay, so hopefully you'll get your 8 hours worth. But if you're on a long plane ride or working remotely, that could still be an issue for a lot of people, I think.
I would bet, though, based on what I've seen for iPhone and iPhone batteries, that someone will come up with something you can throw in your backpack that will recharge your 17-inch without being connected to AC power. Somebody will, so you will be able to carry additional battery power that'll be big and, it'll weigh something, but so would a second battery for a 17-inch. So, everybody complained at first about the iPhone not being battery swappable, and there's been a whole new industry in things that recharge your iPhone without having AC power. There's like a dozen battery things that you can use to extend your iPhone's life, and they're great. They come in all different sizes, shapes, and capacities and price points. So I suspect, once Apple starts doing this, I'm guessing it'll happen on the 15-inch in the next go-round, and once they're all sealed, there'll be a little industry in things that you can carry in your briefcase that will recharge your
caveat to that, though. Because it is sealed, therefore there's no way to access the battery directly, and you have to go through the MagSafe adapter, and Apple's been very reluctant, not at all, giving up that technology to any third party to be able to plug into that.
Good point.
Unless they say, hey, okay, we'll let you make an adapter for that port, those batteries won't exist.
It seems to me they're really pitting in that model screen versus convenience. That 17-inch screen is the big thing on that 17-inch. You got the extra desktop real estate. Now you look at the 15-inch, and two things they didn't talk about, and I'm hoping to go down on the show floor and find out about, is that hard drive replacement. They put a nice big hard drive in there, which is great, the 320 gigabyte standard, and 4 gigs of memory standard, which is great, but pro guys always want more, and there's bigger drives. The 15-inch has that nice accessible drive port. You pop the cover off, you got the battery, and I'm really wondering, 8 hours is great, but is screen size enough to say, okay, I'm going to deal with the 8-hour thing, recharge it, or no, I'm going to take the 15 and I can take an extra battery and pop it out, and I have 10 hours because I get 5 and 5. If you get 5, there's a debate there. But I don't use the high-end graphics on my 15-inch. Of course, pro users would, but I get 4 to 5 pretty consistently using the 9400. I have not played around a lot with this is where I need to change. I'm sure it'll be less. But even take 3 batteries and you get 9 hours and you don't have to worry about it. And I also wonder for videographers and people who are out in the field and might not be near a power source and they have a 20-hour workday because they're doing a shooting schedule, if it becomes an issue. So I don't know sure if that's a really trend that I'm really happy to see them moving in and carrying third-party accessories and extra cables, and that's just not portability to me.
I want to go back to this side, to the musicians in the group. I don't think either one of you are musicians, so the GarageBand enhancements.
Very nice of you to call me a musician.
Yeah.
That's very kind.
No, but the GarageBand enhancements and the star power for now the new teaching tools, flash, or does that have some substance to it for younger kids and people that might be instrument wannabes?
I think it's a great way to get people a taste of learning to play. I don't think that it will replace real good instruction or learning to sight read music, which I don't think it'll teach you. But try playing piano for $10 or $20 plus the free lessons you get a taste and you can see if you like it. And I think that's really cool, because in the past you had to go buy a dedicated program, you had to really kind of be in the market for it. Now it's going to come right on your Mac. So everybody from now on who buys a Mac is going to have introductory music lessons to piano and guitar, which I think is a cool thing. I think a lot of people who might not be exposed to trying to learn to play will learn a little, and some of them will go on and become real musicians, I hope.
Chuck?
My initial reaction was that it was one of those overly ambitious features that probably will make a good splash at first and then kind of go nowhere. But as I watched it more, I kind of got into it, and I thought the quality was pretty good on there. And I think the big factor is going to be how well integrated it is with the rest of the program. So if it's just watching a video and seeing the little blue dots on the fretboard, then I don't think it's going to go very far, and it's probably not that appealing, or at least not more appealing than a lot of other things out there on the market. But if it's really well integrated with GarageBand and you can interact with it, and the way they talked about exporting your tracks into GarageBand, songs that you can manipulate and edit and play with, then it could turn into something big. But
and I think another big factor is how good the library of things you can buy for $4.99 is. If there's a wide variety of music styles and artists, it'll have something to appeal to everybody. If it's a couple dozen and they stop doing them because they're not working or not making money or whatever, then no. But if that library develops into something where you can learn the musical style you're interested in or songs that you're interested in, I think it has a good chance. Because I've looked at other programs like that, and it's a neat way to get exposed to just the beginner level instrument without committing to going somewhere and taking lessons and, doing a lot of practicing. This gets you from A to B pretty quick. You can learn to play a relatively easy song like Gloria in one lesson.
right.
I did.
Yeah. And in the spirit of Apple giveth and Apple taketh away, the way that Apple may be creating a new marketplace for these, rechargeable peripherals for your MacBook Pro, they're also probably going to kill a lot of video instruction companies that are out there right now to teach music. I know there's, Easy Piano and Easy Guitar right now.
Yeah, there's one on the web that I just bought Fire and Rain from for $5. To learn how to play the lick at the beginning and the finger picking stuff that I don't know how to do. And it's really well done, but those guys are going to be in big trouble if you get something free and you can buy lessons for $5 right from within GarageBand, because you got to go to their website, you got to download it, and it's just QuickTime. So if you want to watch it again, you got to rewind it. You can't slow it down, and these guys, they're going to be in trouble. Some of these guys,
because nothing I've seen out there matches the production value or the polish of what GarageBand appears to be.
I agree. And I've looked at a lot of those products. I'm interested in that product category, being a person who owns guitars. Notice I didn't call myself a guitarist.
Guys, how about on this side, how about the DRM-free part of iTunes Plus now, or now iTunes? Is that just inevitable?
You want me to go first?
Go for it. Yeah.
Well, I think it's inevitable. I'm certainly happy to see it. But the one thing that kind of still puzzles me, and I guess my answer from a business standpoint would be the bandwidth issue, but even though by the end of the quarter all 10 million songs will be DMR free, if I want to update my existing songs I already paid for, I got to pay 30 cents a song for them again. And you could buy it for 99 cents today, or I could buy one for 99 cents today. But ultimately, if I want that song DRM that I've already paid the 99 cents for, it's going to end up costing me $1.29.
Yeah, that's the whole upgrade feature. Now, I don't remember. I think when they did the first announcement of DRM Plus, the price went up, so it was an easier thing to swallow. Here, you might have a situation where your track actually went down in price. It's now $69, and you could get the DRM-free version, but you're going to have to end up paying $1.29. So, I think people are going to get over that, though. I think it's going to just be something moving forward. It's just the way the deals went with the music industry, and I think obviously, or maybe not obviously, but to me it seems like the tiered pricing was that sticking point for the labels, and it was kind of the give and take from Apple in the negotiations to say, okay, we'll give you variable pricing, but you have to give us DRM free, so we're up there with Amazon and the other services that you guys have licensed DRM free music out to. And the other good thing for Apple is hopefully it'll now finally settle all the European issues and issues in other countries they've had with the anti-competition with the iPod and things like that. Some of those lawsuits will maybe peter out now because those get long and boring, at least for me.
Well, and I have to wonder if part of the issue for what you were talking about, Terry, is not the record company contracts and the deals, that it's not Apple that's necessarily doing that there are requirements from the record companies that, okay, this is the way it was then, this is the way it is now, here's a little transition piece. I don't know, but I always look to them because they always seem to be kind of the devil in the discussion. I know everybody's anxious to hit the show floor. It's now open. Chuck, I look to you because I think you and I are probably the two out of this group that would be the primary audience for iWork and especially for Keynote. I was really excited about some of the new tools in Keynote. Although, Bob, you do enough presentations too, so...
I'm a big Keynote fan.
Yeah. Anything there? I love it. I love every time I get a Keynote update.
Yeah, the last Keynote update is the one that I was really excited about. It really, I think, raised the bar a lot for what you could do and how easy it was to do it. This update looks more incremental to me so far. I think it's kind of more of those cool features that the last version of Keynote brought. So I'm not rushing out the door to buy it right now. I think it'll be a cool upgrade, but there's nothing there that's going to make me say, I've been waiting for that for years and now finally I can get it, so let me go run down to the Apple Store. But I thought there were some interesting upgrades to Pages and to Numbers especially, and I'm liking Numbers a lot because I deal a lot with a lot of spreadsheets. Yeah, and while Numbers is a lot easier to use, it didn't have near the power that Excel had. So with all these new functions that Apple's brought into Numbers, I'm hoping that I can migrate over from Excel.
Good. Guys, thank you. We could stand here for another hour and analyze everything, but I'm going to go around with one last question. Yes or no? Would you attend the next Phil Note, wherever it is?
The next Phil Note. Well, yeah, if I get an invitation to Apple's campus, yeah, I might want to, and haven't received one of those yet. But I don't know. It would depend on where it was, and if it was in conjunction with another show that I was attending. So what that would be, I have no idea. I find it more interesting. There's a lot of people asking what about Macworld next year, And I actually think I would be very excited to come back to a new Macworld, if they can throw it together and really make it focused on the community and really go back to some of the roots. And I think it can go on like that. So, this was a good keynote. I'll watch the video stuff of that Apple puts out. I'm assuming we'll see Steve back in the saddle in those, and we'll just have to see what happens throughout the year, I guess.
Terry?
Would I go to another Phil note? I'll say yes. I'd go to another one if the circumstances, like you said, were conducive. If I was at a show or if I was at a Macworld and he was doing another keynote, I'd go.
Good.
I don't know that I'd make a special trip to go, but I'd go.
Okay. Bob?
Don't know right now. Ask me again 6 months from now when I have a better handle on what that event might be like. I mean, I live in Texas, so going somewhere to see something like this is a rather substantial undertaking, and I have to say that my publication doesn't send me to stuff like this. And they certainly won't send me when I get an invitation that says, we're having a special event on the Apple campus to introduce a new product. So I say to my editor, want to send me to Cupertino? Apple's having a product announcement. Editor, well, what are they announcing? Well, that's the thing, so it just kind of depends. It has to make financial sense for me, because it is a big undertaking for me to drag my butt out here from Texas, find a hotel, fly out. I can't really just drive out. I do have friends in Silicon Valley. I suppose I could crash at their houses, but it just kind of depends. So I kind of need to know more about what's going to be happening at that. If it was just a product announcement, I don't think so. I've never gone to Cupertino for those. I do ask if Steve will send the Gulfstream for me, and so far the answer's been no. So
That's life.
so far.
Chuck, Phil note?
Well, the Phil note or even the Steve note is such a small part of what I come to Macworld for. So, whether it's there or not, I don't really care. I'm hoping that the absence of Apple from Macworld doesn't deter the vendors and the exhibitors from coming and the attendees, because without Apple, the exhibitors who are here get a lot more exposure, have a lot bigger sounding board to show off their products. So they're probably better off without Apple if the people still come. And there's a lot of cool stuff. I mean, today is about Apple. It's one day, and you know what they've announced, and you get to see it, and if you can fight the crowds enough, you can maybe even get to touch it or see it up close at Apple's booth. But Apple's still going to make those product announcements throughout the year, so you're not really missing anything. So to me, the big opportunity is, what is Macworld going to become, and how much more can we get out of it without Apple's presence?
And I'll throw in, I thought Phil did a very credible job. I think that the people that were out there protesting the keynote, bring back Steve Jobs, all this garbage, I think they look like complete bozos now. Because like you said, Phil was very, very humble. He was very appreciative of what he got from the audience, and I just thought he did a great job given the products he announced.
And he gave us Tony Bennett. Steve only gave us John Mayer. So
4 times.
Okay, there you go.
Someone's counting.
Yeah. Hey, on behalf of Chuck Tournous, Bob Levitas, Terry White, and Adam Christianson, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is the MacJury, the home of truth, justice, and the Macintosh way. And the verdict is in with our first show from Macworld Conference Expo 2009. Thanks for watching, and thanks for listening. The Take Control ebook series are media sponsors of Mac Voices TV. Visit them at takecontrolbooks.com. Mac Voices TV is part of the Mac Voices Group and a member of Mac Level 10.